Hello and welcome into the Rock for Him podcast. This is episode number 34. Unbelievable. 34. Yeah. And we just celebrated our 1 year anniversary of being a radio show and podcast. So tonight is going to be a great night. We have a special guest with us. But before I get into that, let me introduce to you my good friends, my brothers in Christ. First off, my brother Jeremy. Jeremy, how's it going?
Good. How are you guys?
Doing fantastic. Next up, the man, the myth, the legend, Pat Mullins. My brother, how's it going?
Well, I don't know about that, but I'm excited to be here. Great special guest tonight. It's been a long time coming, so I can't wait to get this rolling.
Absolutely. And without any further ado, Miss Meredith Dunckel of the band Undefeated. How's it going tonight?
Good. You got my last name right. Good job.
In my head, I was practicing it. So I'm like, okay, I can barely get my name right. So
that's how it is sometimes, right?
Trust me, for me, it's difficult. So kicking off the show tonight, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so as you said, I'm Meredith. I am the front woman for the rock band Undefeated. My brother plays drums and my sister is the bassist. We've been around for 5 years, I think, just about 5 years. And we just got off our first tour this summer. So that was incredible. It was so fun. We learned so much. And we're just still kicking.
Awesome.
That is cool. So since you are a family band, maybe give us a little past history. Have you guys always played music? Did your folks throw influence at you? Did you go see somebody and be like, I want to do that?
Well, one thing I literally always said, I was like, I will never be a family band. That is not something I want. I don't like family bands. I think they're lame. And God went, are you sure?
Right.
And so my brother and I actually started the band, well, 5 years ago. I was part of a youth group that didn't necessarily include a lot of people. But through that, like, I lost my confidence, I lost my singing voice, I lost everything. But at the same time, I gained what Jesus said over me versus what people said over me, so I wouldn't change it. And we had two bands come in. One was from Massachusetts, one was Canada. And I led like background vocals on a song for our youth group. And the manager came up and was like, I feel like God is telling me to encourage you. So he invited me up to his festival in Massachusetts. I was 13, by the way. So my parents were like, who are you? And what do you want with my 13-year-old daughter? But we thought like the worst thing that could happen was we didn't go again. So we ended up going, and something there at that festival just clicked for me. Like, everybody there was like me. There was all sorts of genres. And I was just like, this is my place. This is what I want to do. And I asked my brother on the way home if he wanted to join. And he said, and I quote, heck yeah. And we had another bassist with us for a couple years, but the more traveling we did, the less he was able to commit to. So he left, but my sister ended up joining. And it was another God story, because we were like, what are we going to do? We don't have a bassist. And my sister was like, I'll do it. And she didn't play bass. So she doesn't play any instrument. Okay. And we were like, sure, you can do it. Like, here's my bass, borrow it for a couple of weeks. We'll see what happens. But what happened was she took off, and I can't even, like, she plays better than I do at this point. Like, it's crazy. It is so crazy. But that's the other thing, is God knew that. So we were like, oh, okay, cool. So that is the whole in a nutshell.
Cool.
That's awesome.
And with that, how did the band name form then? Is it you had mentioned something where you had kind of lost a little bit?
Yeah.
Did that play any influence in that?
It can and it can't. How it really started, Christian hates when I tell this story, but we were looking for a band name, had no idea, and we were listening to the song Undefeated by KB. My mom was like, oh, Undefeated's a cool name. And we're like, yeah, that sounds cool. We'll run with that. So we run with that. However, the more we play, the more we live life, the more things we go through, it becomes a different meaning to us than just, oh, this song. Like, it becomes, I'm not the only person in the world who feels this way, or God showed me this, God showed me that, God has led me through all these different things, to be able to say, hey, he's undefeated, so it's definitely grown in meaning as we've grown as a band.
Yeah,
Awesome.
love it. Oh.
So where are you guys from? I guess, and tell us a little bit about your brother and your sister.
Yeah, so we are from a small town in Lavelle, New York, which is way upstate. We're either 45 minutes, I think, an hour from the Canadian border, so quite upstate. And we all still live at home. My sister just turned 16, I'm 20. And we're currently working on the band. I've been working on the band basically full time. I do have a degree in medical coding, or a certificate, sorry, in medical coding and billing, which was something I picked up specifically because I could work from home doing that while we pursued the band. And my brother just graduated college, so he is going, or sorry, just graduated high school. He is going on to community college right now, just for like a 2-year thing. And then he's looking towards, what was it, land surveying, which is also a job that you can pick up anywhere, not necessarily have to work weekends, which is what we do a lot right now. And then with my sister in high school, we've been playing a lot more on the weekends. These winter months is where we really buckle down and book a lot of the summer shows. We're hoping to do a tour next year. And then obviously play nights when she can do it. So
That's awesome. Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing that.
yeah.
Before we get into the next question, I was gonna say I love it when we talk to people and they're part of a family band. It's normally, it's like the dad, and we'll say, "Well, tell us how you met the rest of the band." And he's like, "Well, I've known them since birth." So, so
Basically.
yeah, that's awesome. But one thing that we always like to ask everyone that comes on the show is, how did you come to know Christ? How did just tell us your
Mhm.
testimony a little bit.
Yeah, I grew up knowing about Jesus. So it definitely was something I grew into. I do remember there was a time when I was probably 8 or 9 and I was like, I don't know who the heck this person is. Like, is he even real? But as you keep living, there's just things you literally can't deny that he did that for me.
Mm.
And my parents have a whole story. When I was younger, my dad was just super convicted about like secular music, and so he threw out like hundreds and hundreds of CDs and records of all these bands that my parents used to listen to. So we grew up without any sort of rock music at all. We were all K-Love or hymns basically. So growing up in that, like, we had a solid foundation of who God is, and the worship side of things, but we didn't understand the like life or death side of things, like the warrior side of things, which is what I'm a huge advocate for, is freedom from oppression, because there have been multiple things different. Like, even when I was a kid, like, it's just the oppression in the church body, which not a lot of people want to talk about, you know? So I'm a firm believer that Christ sets all people free through him, and it's not about your religious rules. It's not about what color your hair is, what you wear. It's your heart attitude in worship, in fear, the holy fear towards him. So I guess it's kind of like the salvation story wasn't so much of a moment as, oh, it was December 17th, that I got saved, but it was more growing and knowing who I am in Christ and how to bring freedom, not personally like myself, but open the eyes. Just there is a lot more to Christ than just sitting at a table. He's great, so.
No, that's awesome. We love to hear, testimonies like that, where it's not just, hey, on November 17th, I gave my
Yeah.
heart over, you showed us that you grew into it. And that's
Mhm.
fantastic. We love hearing that. And, we're not afraid to talk about those type of topics that you were
Mhm.
saying. That this is why we do this. If you're passionate about it, we're passionate about it.
Mhm.
That's just how we are,
Yeah, I like that. I've listened to some of your podcasts when I get a chance to, and it's been really cool.
well, thank you.
So you're the one.
We have one listener.
That's how I feel on Spotify streams.
No, so I'm glad you share that, because a lot of things within our ministry, we grew up in similar situations where you were told to do one thing because that's just what you did. It wasn't because it was what the Bible said. And then there were
Yeah.
some taboos. And I felt, as myself, at least as a young Christian, I think we've talked with the other guys too, that it was a little, it kind of chased people away. And as the church, we as Rock for Him want to reach out and be like, don't underestimate the power of God, what he can
Yeah.
use, or what he, he can reach anybody from anywhere.
Mhm.
And I was just looking at a Facebook post today where Striper is touring with a couple other secular bands, and they're getting some heat on social media. And the guy was like, Christ told us to go into all of the world,
Mhm.
not just into our church. If you're going into your church and singing, 95%, maybe more, are Christian, and
Yeah.
how are
Yeah.
you reaching those who are lost? So
Mhm.
we love that. Appreciate what you're doing. What you mentioned earlier that your folks kind of shut out rock music when you were younger and things. So how did you come about being like, I want to get into rock music? Or who influences you, and how do you come up with your lyrics? Is there a story
Yeah.
or something where you're like, I want to do that?
Yeah, that Massachusetts festival, there were all genres. Like there was hymns, and then there was like heavy guttural metal screamo, like I'm not versed in the subgenres, but my sister and brother can tell you all about that. But my brother definitely, when we discovered that, we were like, oh my gosh, there's music out there that isn't swearing all the time, that doesn't create angst inside of you, like I want to feel something, so people go for the angst and the dissociating kind of thing, and like, no, you can feel life, you can feel love, you can feel joy, there's all these different things. And so primarily I write I write all of the lyrics and most of the music, but then I take it to Christian and he kind of changes the music up. And Lisa's just started writing. I've been doing the bass lines for a while, but she's just started coming to me and being like, hey, can we write something to this? And I'm like, absolutely we can. And so I am a lover of like multi-meaning lyrics. So I love Lacey Sturm. I love like Paramore is some of my favorites. I know Lise loves Black Veil Brides, and Christian is a huge fan of like she loves Impending Doom too, but Christian loves Impending Doom. And I can't even like Gojira, I think is another one he likes, but ones that I don't necessarily listen to. I'm definitely the person who a vocalist. So I love vocals, anything that has like great vocals. I like the ones that go into a scream from a note, but I wouldn't necessarily listen to just flatline screaming. So they can tell you all about that. But I definitely love the heavier side versus contemporary, but also, I don't know. I'm a vocal person, so I love country too, just anything with good vocals.
That's awesome. Before Jeremy jumps in here, just gotta say, I was listening to some of your guys' music today, and what I love about your music is you go from singing just this beautiful voice to all of a sudden this scream and growl that I was at work and I'm just like, where did that come from? I had to look down to see if I switched tracks. I was like, wow, that was impressive.
Yeah, that's not me. That's Christian screaming.
Oh, okay. I was just like, wow.
I've been working on like a little bit of unclean vocals, just enough to get some grit, because I tend to have more of like the operatic range, and I really want to get into, playing with my voice and seeing what it can do. But Christian's all the screams.
Well, I will say I was quite impressed just how it went from you singing to all of a sudden that scream. I was just like, whoa, where did that come from?
I should have just said thank you. I
Yeah.
worked hard.
All right. So where have you guys toured? Like, what's your favorite venue, that kind of thing?
Well, we went all over the Northeast and Central US this summer. We went with an organization called the Extreme Tour, and their mission was to bring music to communities that didn't necessarily have that opportunity. So there were a lot of homeless communities, a lot of druggy communities, just a lot of people who were just very down and out. And their purpose was to bring joy, to bring a spotlight, to let them know that there was somebody there who cared. And so we learned a lot, even just listening to people there. Like, it was insane, because you do tend to judge like based on appearances, even if you don't mean to, but when we really got in there and you sit down with the people that you wouldn't sit down with, and just listen to their stories, it's amazing what you hear. We learned so much. So I definitely enjoyed that. Some of my favorite venues, like, it's gonna sound bad when I say the biggest stages, because I don't mean biggest stages meaning most people. I mean literal space to move on the stage because we like to move around. And we were playing on like a 7x7 with Barely Fit Christian's drums, you know, so we would stand right in front as the stage we traveled with for a while. So now that we've gotten to where there's a little bit more like foot room, it's been a lot of fun.
That's
Cool.
awesome. I know we
Hey.
were trying to get the I'm sorry, go ahead, Scott.
Well, I think we're gonna cross the same bridge, so go right
Yeah.
ahead.
I say I think the extreme tour reached out to us about bringing the tour in, and we had
awesome.
talked to you guys about coming in a couple times, and
Yeah.
being a free podcast, it's hard because they're like, we just need a place for 30 plus people and a venue. We're like,
Yeah.
okay, we're gonna sell Jeremy and try and pay for this.
I tell that to Lisa all the time. No, just kidding.
So go ahead, Scott. Sorry.
Well, I was just gonna add, I mean, we were looking forward to you guys being up in our area, and then there was a cancellation, and so how maybe just a touch deeper on how that extreme tour works. I know there's
Yeah.
maybe 10 or 13 bands, or how.
Yep.
maybe
We
explore on
we were on for 3 weeks. They have bands come in and out about every 2 weeks. So the people we were with like Brutality. I don't know if you guys know them. They're from
Yep.
Baltimore. Bradley was another family band, which they were really sweet. But we had nothing to do like with the booking of things. In fact, we weren't shared the address of where we were going to go until the day of, and we were like, oh man, so there's a couple times that shows got switched around, which we didn't know about until that day, which I was really sad about because I had some friends in different cities that had wanted to come, being one of you guys.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know anything about the scheduling or booking on that side.
I see. So how long were you on the tour? Because I know they do a long.
They do. They run from end of June or early June, something like that, all the way through September. We were on for the month of August. We left in the middle because we had a couple prior shows that we had booked up in Maine. So we ended up like trucking down and then going 20 hours up to Maine and then back down 20 hours. It was a little crazy for that week, but the rest of it was about 3 to 6 hours travel. I forget the question. Sorry.
That's okay.
I was thinking ahead and then I was like, wait, I don't know what I'm talking about.
I was just wondering how long you were on the tour.
That's what it was. Yeah. So we were
August.
about 3 weeks with them, but 4 weeks overall, 4.5 weeks.
Okay. And in that 4 weeks, how many cities? Is it one per week or is it multiple?
No, it was 3 or 4 per week.
Wow. Okay.
So yeah, it was about every other day that we had a show. So yeah, 6. I used to know this. 10, probably about 15 cities, I would say.
Oh, very
Something
cool.
like that.
Very cool.
I know it was just about 6,000 miles, 7,000 miles
Ooh.
overall.
Wow.
Was there you said you learned a lot. Did you see the Lord move a lot in that? I mean, when you're talking the people you were singing to, in the areas you were targeting, it just seems like they would be so open. We not to pull anything away from you, but we did a thing with an organization in Flint called the Heart for Flint, and it was in downtown Flint, and they gave away all this stuff to homeless people, put on a concert and all this stuff. And that was probably, to me, as close to like a Judea project of a church that we could do. Just seeing the smiles and the joy that the people had just from you talking to them or offering them something or singing with them. It was a blessing to me. I just wondered if you had similar experiences or if there was one particular story or two that you could share.
There absolutely was.
Yeah.
There was even one time we were walking down the street all dressed up because we're playing in like 10 minutes, and there was a guy walking down the opposite side and was like, hey, like, you girls have fun wherever you're headed, we're like, what are you doing in 10 minutes? We're playing down at the park. And he ended up stayed for our whole set and came over and was like, my friend and I have been trying to get clean off of cocaine for like a year, and you guys are the first people to invite us to a place that didn't have that. And it was just we were like, what are the odds of God putting us exactly, and then of him wanting to come, so
100%.
neat. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That was really neat. And I know Christian and Lise have different stories, just talking to different people, but that was the biggest impact on me, that I was like, you never know, like, so just smile at the person across the street. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
So, I lost my train of thought. Go ahead.
So what is it? I'll jump in and give Jeremy time to recoup. What's it like touring with your brother and sister? You get out there and you're just like, don't make me get mom.
No, it is actually like the best. I mean, I'm also the oldest, so I'm unofficially the family manager. It's actually it's great. Christian and I traded off driving a lot. Lise made her little haven in the back seat. And there were just a lot of times that we were like, I'm so glad like it's you guys, because you don't need to, like, you become a family. Like our old basis, like we became a family,
Mhm.
and people don't understand that you just do. So even being family from the start, we know each other's pet peeves, like when somebody needs space, and to honor that was also a learning curve, especially when you're traveling in a 5-passenger car. But we definitely, I don't know, you give each other space, you give each other grace. There's a lot of grace. And it was really fun though, because we got to like shop for ourselves, and we were like, oh, we can get, because we're a family of 8, we don't necessarily buy a lot of expensive things, but we could get like the package of strawberries, and we were like, oh, this is great.
Wait, you said family of 8?
Yeah, yep.
So when are the next ones gonna play instruments, and what are they
People
learning?
ask them that all the time. My youngest brother goes, no, I will never do that. Except he's already become my guitar tech for one of the shows. So I handed it off to him. He tuned it all up, handed it back. We have another brother that runs the merch table. One of them runs like the video stuff when we need him. So it's kind of a family affair. Like we all work together as a team, which is really cool to have that support behind my dream, So it's really cool.
Love that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Jeremy?
Go ahead, Scott.
Yeah.
Pass.
So I think we've got 4 songs in our library on Rock for Him that we play. I remember first hearing Cages, and I was like, wow, this is incredible. In fact, I remember playing it, and my wife like, who is that? That girl has the most beautiful voice I've ever heard.
Oh, thank you.
So all the listeners are loving it. How many, you've been together for 5 years?
Mhm.
I was a little shocked hearing that. So how many songs do you have out? Do you have a full
man.
length CD, or do you just, how's it going?
Well, we have a couple EPs out right now. We are originally we were going to do an album, but the way the time frame happened, and we are focused on growing more than we're focused on like holding back our music. So we decided just to release another EP. We are releasing 5 songs in 5 months. We have 3 out right now. And you can find it on Undefeated Official on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Apple Music, Spotify, iTunes, whatever you listen to. So we have 2 more coming out. One is actually coming out in the next 2 weeks, which is titled Choke. We've been playing that one live for a while, but I really like the recorded version. That's really good. Not to, but it's one of my favorites if I took a step back from being in the band. But Future, the one we just released, is also like my top favorite. I would say that was the best one so far. We're actually filming the music video. We filmed a little bit last weekend, and we have to finish it next weekend. But we have, I don't know how many songs we have out, but a couple at least, 5 or 6 probably. And we have a lot in the works because, never stops.
That's good.
But
That's
we're
awesome.
like focused on growing all the time. So every like release we have, we want it to be better than the last one. So that's what we're working on.
Very
Yeah, it's
cool.
funny you bring up your couple of your favorites, but I remember a couple podcasts ago we asked someone what their favorite was, and they're like, it's always the next song, because it's the anticipation of this is the newest and what's it gonna do, and
Yeah.
like you said, you keep growing and it just keeps getting better and better, and so that's exciting. I can't wait to hear that stuff.
Yeah, me too. It's so good. I'm very excited because these are like songs we've held back for like a little bit. We've had them since May. And so we're just so excited to finally have everybody but, mom and grandma hear them.
Nice.
And this is why we love having artists on that we play, because when you have new songs, and the viewers and the listeners can hear the excitement in your voice, that gets them excited. So when it drops, it's like everyone rushes out and gets it right away, and we're
I
like,
hope
okay,
so.
we're playing it, So
Yeah.
this is very, very cool to us to, just see the excitement in your face for the new music.
Yeah.
So I've got kind of a fun question for you. We ask this of almost everyone. So if someone were to pull up to your door right now, pound on the door, say, pack a bag, grab your brother and sister, we're going on tour, no questions asked, get in the bus. Who would you want it to be? Who would be your dream artist to go on tour with?
Well, artists I love to see are Lacey Sturm and Paramore. So that would be a cool, like, female fronted thing. But if you're going for like good with each other, connecting, I would love to like do Wage War. I think that would be a really neat playoff. Yeah, I think that would be cool. And then like a local band. I love that. I love going around and just being like, oh, you play here? Like, because you're on someone else's home turf, and it's so cool to realize, oh, they had high school here, or their mom took them shopping for cars here, and it's just cool to see that and hear about their stories as well. So that'd be really cool. Like a local band, us, Wage War. Perfect.
That's awesome. That'd be a good show.
Yeah, for sure.
Really would, yeah. So another question we ask of our artists is, and I know you guys, are just beginning to tour, but how did you stay connected to your walk with Christ while you're out on the road?
The biggest thing is to make time. There was a pastor out on the road with us for the first week we were on it. He just told us, he's like, the first thing that's going to go is going to be your God time, which it was. And we didn't realize, like, within literally a couple days, I was like, oh my gosh, like, I'm not getting the God time that I need. So I literally just carved out those, even 5 minutes, you know what I mean? More if we could spare it, just to sit, listen, or read the Bible. And so mainly it's literally about making that time. And even if you have to like set an alarm, it doesn't matter what you're doing, drop and do it. That's what really kept us level-headed as much as can be on little sleep. But yeah.
So earlier, I think you touched a little bit. You said in the winter you start planning out for the next spring and summer. Has that started yet, or
Yeah.
is that? Can
Yep.
you share anything that we might be? I mean,
Yeah.
are you going to be with Wage War? Or what's going on?
Wouldn't that be really cool, man? I
That
should
would
reach
be.
out, see if they give me the time of day. But like, it literally started September 1st, like right when we were home. Christian went to school. We got home Sunday evening. He went to his first day of college Monday morning. My sister had a week to recuperate, but I went right into emailing radio stations. We're currently booking for next year, so we're hoping to do a festival run. And then with my sister having Regents, we've been trying to work around figuring out when that is to be able to book past that. The goal is to be able to do a tour. So we are currently like working on that, but we have nothing set in stone yet other than these dates in this section, these dates in this section. And then we're going to start reaching out to different places around there. We have a bunch of local things booked right now. But hopefully we'll get out to Michigan. That'd be cool.
That would be very cool.
That would be cool.
We'd be pretty excited to get to see you guys live.
I was so glad we like that dropped, because I didn't know until last minute, and I was like, oh.
We were too.
We were bummed too. We were like, the day you guys were coming was my son's, I think it was like the day after my son's birthday. And we were all planning as a family to come and see you guys and hang out. And it got canceled. It got canceled, and we were like, no.
Yeah, that's how I felt. I was like, no, man. Tell him I said happy belated birthday.
It'll happen. God's timing on everything. So.
Yeah.
That's right. So for the viewers and listeners out there that are just getting to know Undefeated, what is something that you would want them to know?
Life's too boring, or life's too short to wear boring clothes.
Oh.
As I'm wearing a plaid. But just be yourself. I know that's really cliche, but God made you for a reason, and he put you in the world for a reason. So there is something for you to do that only you can do.
Very nice.
Got it.
I like that.
So as we start drawing to a close here, we always, like we did with your testimony, we always like to wonder how we can pray for you as a Rock for Him ministry.
That's
Can you
neat.
maybe share a few things we can put on our list?
Yeah, that is really cool. Honestly, prayer for grace right now for stress. We've been a little bit stressed lately just because there's a lot. Like, I mean, we have our water heater broken, like just all these little life things are like, creeping up. So I guess just prayers to remain focused on the goal and not get sidetracked. That would be nice.
All right.
I appreciate that. That's really cool.
How about your brother and sister? Anything we can pray for them for?
Same thing, really.
Same thing.
They're all, managing all of their different activities, band stuff, so yeah, just eye on the goal would be cool.
All right. I'm adding that to the list. And I think Jeremy, would you mind praying us out today, brother?
Absolutely. Go ahead and pray. Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this time. We thank you for bringing Meredith and Undefeated to our podcast, Lord. And like Meredith said, we just pray that you give them the grace and the tools needed to get through all of these stresses, and Lord, continue to bless them in their ministry. And we just thank you for allowing us to play their music and have that kind of impact on other people's lives. And Lord, just thank you for Rock for Him and for Scott and Jason. And Lord, we celebrate this time, and we thank you for testimony, just the time together. May you be glorified in all this. We ask all this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Well, before we get out of here, Meredith, where can the listeners and viewers of Rock for Him find Undefeated?
Yes, so we're on all streaming platforms, but you can find our social media pages under Undefeated Official. Sometimes if you can't find our music on Apple Music or Spotify, you have to put in Undefeated Official Cages or Future, and it should pop up.
All
And come
right.
say hi. Say you're from Rock for Him.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep.
All right. Well, I just want to thank you again for joining us tonight. This was so much fun getting to know you and getting to chat
Thank you
with
for having me. I really appreciate it. This was a lot of fun. I like this.
Us too.
You are welcome back
Really
anytime.
enjoy.
Show up every
And to
night.
Michigan. And to Michigan.
Yeah.
So honestly, anytime you want to come back on, just send us a note and say, hey, we got something coming up. We want to talk about it.
Okay.
And we
Awesome.
will get
Thank
you
you.
on. Yeah. So I just want to remind all of you. Well, before I do that, Meredith, thank you very much again for joining us. Scott, Jeremy, brothers, as always, this has been awesome. It's been so much fun.
It
For the
is.
listeners out there, I just want to remind you, if you're going to rock for him. Have a good night.
If you like what you saw today, hit the subscribe and like button down below, and don't forget to share it to all your friends. Also, leave us a comment down below. If you're gonna rock for him.